You guys get extra credit. Today is September the 25th, 2021, even though I continually write 2019. It's 2021. This is episode number 74. This is the 74th Saturday service that we've done, which is quite amazing. And it's not just me who's here. Wait a moment. Let me show you all my friends. There are my friends. Friends, say hi.
Hello.
Hi.
Morning.
Glad that you guys are all here. This is the Saturday service. I am Rabbi Brian. I'm glad to be hosting. This is a different way of doing religion, and here's this is not necessarily a Jewish service, nor is it not a Jewish service. This is just a gathering of people who are trying to quote the prophet formerly known as Prince. This is all of us just trying to get through this thing called life, and I'm honored to be hosting it. Let us start. I think we'll start straight in. Joe, are you ready? You got a list of people. So what we've taken to do in the service, and I was reading about religion, and it said one of the things about responsive readings, and if you do responsive readings with a group of people, first of all, you can give them a quiz immediately after having given them a responsive reading as to, were these some of the words that you just said? But that's not the point of the responsive reading.
It's definitely not.
Okay, good.
The
Good,
point of
that's
the
good.
responsive reading is it gets people doing the same thing together. And getting people doing the same thing together forms some kind... Look, religion's not stupid. Like, there's a reason that things have been done. There's this great experiment of religion, and it's been done for thousands of years, and the things that work have stuck. And having people do something together sticks because it brings people together. It forms community. It makes things in common. And as is our tradition here on the Saturday service, we have a list of people whose names we want to just think about. We want to pray about. I don't really know about the efficacy of prayer. Like, does this really work or not? We don't have an exact control group, but it does help those of us who are praying. That's a Kierkegaard quote. Kierkegaard said, "I don't pray to change God. I pray so that I am changed." Those of you who are taking notes, that's a good one to write down. So we're going to have a list of names of people who we have on our hearts. And Joe, would you read us our list of people this week?
I sure will. Mike Barnes, Ken, Colleen, Theo, Courtney, Scott, Steve, Lillian, Nancy Meerman, the Haiti refugees, and Rita.
Good. Well, we hope all of these people in some way feel something by our prayers. And I'm going to ask us to take the clock above my head. This is the time here locally in Portland, Oregon. We're just going to start at 20 seconds after and continue for a minute in just silence. I would like to thank Joe, as always, for helping with the prayers. If you have other names of people you'd like to join, to add to the prayer list, you can do that on the Saturday service attendee form or leave something in the Religion Outside the Box Clubhouse. Leave a note there and we'll pick up a name. And also thanks to Alex for being our technical wizard, and to Lee who's taking notes, and also double thanks back to Joe who keeps track of what's going on in the chat, because I cannot run a service and read the chat at the same time. So Joe brings things to my attention. Ooh, we have a little echo happening, but that's all right. I want to do a little bit of review because last week, oh boy, did I piss some people off. So last week there was a quote from H.G. Wells, and boy, I would have done it differently if I had known what it was that we had gotten to. But the quote we had from H.G. Wells, his quote was, "Moral indignation is jealousy with a halo." So if you were here last week, we had a long discussion about that. Moral indignation is jealousy with a halo. And I found a lot of people, when I sent out the 2-bullet summary, who weren't at the service, did not understand that quote and got a little upset about it. But I want us to look at what that quote meant, and then we'll break it down as to what happened. Before we do that, let me say something that my friend Larry, my best buddy, is a retired Disciples of Christ minister, and he gave a sermon once that I still remember. It's got to be 20-something years later. And in the sermon he said, if your religion is always comfortable, you're not doing it right. If your religion is always comfortable, you're not doing it right. So it's all right if you didn't like the quote and you took issue with it. That's fine. I would like to ask, and I'm going to do, hold on, I'm looking at the screen here. I saw my daughter a moment ago. There's my daughter. Hi, Annie. Annie, I'm going to pick on you for a second. You can totally say no, and that's fine, and you can still have ice cream later. Would you explain to us what that quote meant? Moral indignation is jealousy with a halo. Do you have that? Can you share it? You can just totally say no, and we'll take you off the screen.
If I'm right.
Say again?
If I'm right, I think it meant... Oh, no, Dad, it's too early.
It's too early. Okay. That's fine. Let's unspotlight the Annie, please.
Wait, what?
Okay. The quote was, moral indignation is jealousy with a halo. And I thought of an example. Is there somebody who is trying to say something I missed? No. The example I thought of is, you know those people who are like virulently anti-homosexual, and then you find out later, oh wait, they were actually in the closet? It's that kind of thing, that the moral indignation, that you get so upset that somebody's able to do something that you yourself won't allow yourself to do. And if I could change the quote, and I like to keep the quotes intact from who said it. And H.G. Wells said, moral indignation is jealousy with a halo. If I could change it, I would change it to this, is some of moral indignation is fueled by jealousy.
Yeah, that's a little
easier to swallow, right, Emily? All right. Some of moral indignation is fueled by jealousy.
Yeah.
So then we can look at, and Meg, you and I had a conversation about that, that you can see that they're the people who aren't doing what you do, and you can be a little bit, part of your moral indignation can come from your jealousy. We're not saying that's all of it. And I'll add some other piece to it. We've done this a bunch of times, and those of you who have been here before, let's do it along with me. But we said that there are 5 elements of a spiritual life, of a spiritualigious life.
It's been a while.
It has been a while since we've done this, and if you don't remember them, that does not mean you're not a good person. You're still a good person. What are the 5 elements, the key elements? This is the work of Erich Fromm. 5 key elements of spiritualigious life. Someone give me one of them.
Transcendence.
There's a sense of transcendence, and I mark that down with this infinity sign. There's a sense of being connected. There's a sense of, wow. There's right there. That's one of the qualities of a spiritualigious life. Another quality of a spiritualigious life.
Always trying to go forward, questioning. Is that right?
I like how you ended it with a question.
Oh.
That a spiritual life is not about certainty. A spiritual life is one in which doubt is held on to. A doubt is actually encouraged. A spiritual life is, there was a quote we used by Voltaire who said, doubt is uncomfortable, certainty is ridiculous. The spiritual life is filled with doubt and not knowing. There's a quote, I just remembered this one recently, from Werner Erhard, who founded EST, and he was quite a character. And he said, and I will do my bad German accent, understanding is the booby prize. That knowing something, you're missing it. Okay, that's 2 elements of a spiritual life. That's 2 out of 5, which is a 40%, which is an A. So we're doing that. I taught
Hierarchy
that.
of values.
I know how it works. Go say it again there, Kip.
Hierarchy of values.
A spiritual life is noted by a hierarchy of values, that we don't say all things, we take everything exactly and it's fine. No, there are some things that are more right than others, and often at the top of this pyramid, we're going to put things like love and compassion. All right, we're at 3. What's a 4th element of a spiritual life?
It's not all about me.
It's not, thank you, Steve. Spiritual life is not about self. About the aggrandizement of self. It must be, a spiritualigious life must be about others. And the 5th quality of a spiritual life?
Transformation.
Faith.
Transformation. I liked the way it was sung. A transformation. And I like somebody said faith, and faith does not actually fit in to Fromm's list. But this idea of transformation, of knowing that, and it's not about transforming the world, it's about allowing ourselves to be transformed, of knowing that who I am today and who I will become are not one and the same. So why I bring this up? Moral indignation is jealousy with a halo. Well, moral indignation means somebody has done something against one of our highest values. Mm-hmm. And that's being in a spiritualigious life, is having high values. And knowing that when somebody breaks one of our higher values, we will get upset. How we get upset, that's a whole nother thing. And fortunately, I have another piece of paper for that one. This one we've also done in the past. Aristotle. Aristotle said there's nothing wrong with anger, but you have to know how to do anger correctly. So the moral indignation, that's one thing, and we're going to talk a little bit more about it. But to be angry correctly, according to Aristotle said to be angry is easy. Anyone can do that. But to be angry at the right person,
The right time.
at the right time,
For the right reason.
for the right reason, and in the right amount, that is not easy. I'm going to go over those again in case you didn't catch all of it. Aristotle said that anyone can be angry, but to be angry at the right person, at the right time, in the right amount, and for the right reason, that is not easy, and that is not something everyone can do. So when we think about moral indignation, sometimes our moral indignation, we get angry in the wrong amount. we get a little bit too angry and vocal about it. And I asked last week, and I will ask again. Oopsie.
Oh, dear.
Alex. There we are. I'm
Make me dizzy.
ask again. By a show of hands, and we can see you, so let's see, people, how many of you have hands? Good job. By a show of hands, how many of you have had your minds changed? I'm not saying that you stopped doing the action. I'm saying that your mind was changed as to why you did the action. How many of you, by a show of hands, have had your mind changed because somebody yelled at you? 2 and a little. A few people scratching their heads. Yelling at someone, that's getting angry. That's in the wrong amount. Most often, it's the wrong amount. It's the person who comes to you with compassion and says, oh, I really see that you're having a hard time with this. Can we talk? And that's where change is going to happen.
But is that indignant?
No, that is not indignant.
So is there ever a time when moral indignation is useful? Because I don't see it.
Well, yes, with my children and my wife.
I'm sure that goes over real well.
Oh, no, it doesn't go over real well at all, actually. It doesn't. So let's talk about moral indignation. It doesn't go over well, but we still do it. And here's a question. Why? Why do we do moral indignation if we know it doesn't work? And I have an answer. 'Cause it feels really good. It feels really good to be morally indignant, to get on our high horse. And it feels really good. Let me get back to this part. It feels really good to discharge all of your anger, sometimes at the wrong person. It's really quiet right now. Amy and Rita each have something. Yeah, Cousin Amy, what do you got? Cousin Amy, you are on mute right now.
There we go.
Go for it.
I was going to say, it's sort of like you said, it's on our high horse, but it's getting rid of our frustration.
Yeah.
And when we spew out, isn't it that it makes us feel better?
Absolutely.
Because we're it's sort of like, the temperature on a thermometer, and in the cartoons you see it goes so high you see it.
Yeah.
Spew out the top.
That's exactly it. It makes us feel better to spew out at someone. It's cathartic. It doesn't mean it's right. It doesn't mean if you're looking at a spiritual life where you have a hierarchy of values, yelling at someone, that should not be on your hierarchy of values.
I can be smug.
Yeah. All right, show of hands, honestly, who likes being smug?
Oh, I like it.
All right. Okay, now, wait. Just because it's
that
fun.
just creates the same issue. You can't be smug because then it creates...
Well, you're right, but I still like doing. I don't...
Oh, yeah.
But
there are
then
a lot
you
of
get
things...
angry, but then don't you get angry because you get overly angry then because it's all built up and then it explodes.
Oh, thank you, Amy. That's exactly...
wrong time.
Okay, and then we're going to get to Rita. But if you do not disperse your anger at the right person at the right time in the right amount and for the right reason, it's going to build up within you. And when somebody steps on your foot, and it's somebody, and if it's like Andre the Giant, you are not going to get really angry. But if it's somebody who you can get really angry at, you're going to let all the anger out at the wrong person. So we should be angry, and we should practice being angry the right way. Rita, you had something you wanted to add in.
Yes, I'm trying to remember. I'll remember. It's the word jealousy that I questioned. I mean, to me, I would say instead, moral indignation can be judgment wearing a halo.
Sure. Moral indignation is judgment with a halo. That sounds good. I like that.
And can be because
we're softening the quote. I'll tell you why I like H.G. Wells's quote is because it's uncomfortable and it makes us really think about our moral indignation. So, yeah, good. Anything else we want to get to about moral indignation, about anger?
Yeah, I do, Brian.
Yeah,
One second.
Kip.
So I think to be morally indignant, you've got to have certainty. And I think that's what feels great about it, is that you are completely certain. But if we say the questions are more important than the answers, then we have to throw out that certainty that we're right.
Righteousness.
Yeah, righteousness
Righteousness
requires
is
us
poisonous.
being right. It's not
Right.
called doubtfulness.
No.
Yeah.
And you have to be certain that that person is doing something wrong to get morally indignant, in my opinion. And that's dangerous.
And Kip, you even said last week, and we didn't, that I think it was you, and if not, I apologize for putting words in your mouth, that there's probably no time where being righteously indignant is right.
That's what I said, and that's what I've never found a place that I'm in a good place if I'm righteously indignant. It's something's threatening, something that I don't want to have threatened, that I'm not comfortable with, and I've made decisions about what's threatening that.
Yeah, wonderful. My friend Gene Robinson, an Episcopal priest, he said anytime that he finds himself having been angry, he goes back to this list and sees which one of these did he do wrong and to whom does he owe an apology and for what. So next time that you find yourself being angry, which is what we do, look at these 4 things and see, well, possibly, do I owe an apology to someone? And if so, what? Rags, you had a question or comment?
Yes. What I'm struggling with in terms of moral indignation is whether we take away recognizing things that are really, truly, absolutely wrong, like letting somebody starve on your front porch.
Right, or beating up children.
Yeah, exactly.
Those are morally wrong.
And do we not use moral indignation in that case because our upset is righteous or what? I mean, I don't go to anger. I seem to be wired weirdly. I go off the sad, tragic cliff rather than anger cliff, not because of any virtue or anything except someone once tried very hard to make me angry by hitting me, which there was a good relationship, as you can imagine. And it was decades ago, but I didn't get angry then. I mean, I don't seem wired right for anger, but it disturbs me to think we might be seen to be talking in a way that I have to let it be okay, and maybe there are two sides.
No, that's not at all.
Thank you for bringing that up.
Good.
That's not the point at all.
Okay.
Yourself.
Slow down, folks. This is where the hierarchy of values comes in mind. We do, if somebody's messing with one of our higher hierarchy of values, like messing with children, we do have a right, we do have a reason to be upset with them. I think the question is of how are we getting upset at them, and are we doing it, oh wait, quiz, pencils down. What were the 4 qualities that and here, let me, this is hard because we're so used to quizzes being like a test where you feel like you did something wrong. And it's not. This is just a chance to see, do you remember the 4 qualities? And if not, let's pick up the ones you don't remember. But Aristotle said, anyone can be angry, that is easy. But to be angry at, can you do it? How many of you hold up 4 fingers if you got all 4 of them? That's good. How many of you got 3? You get an extra sticker for being honest. Okay, great. So the 4 things are Aristotle said anyone can be angry. Let's do them all at the same time because that's always fun to do on Zoom. Aristotle said anyone can be angry. That is easy, but to be angry at the right
Person.
to be angry at the right
At the
person
right time.
at the right time,
The right reason.
in the right amount,
The right amount.
Right reason.
right. And if the visual didn't catch you the first time, that is a picture of a raisin because I didn't know how else to draw reason.
Brian, there's an interesting statement in the chat.
Okay, go ahead.
I think this is another example of a time that is different cross-culturally. This conversation would be very different in a Black folk space.
Okay, I am not qualified to speak to what happens in a Black folk space, and I need to be aware of that. How would it be different? Yeah, I think.
Hey, RB. Hey, RB, it's Aviva.
I thought it might be you, Aviva. I was kind of hoping. Hi, friend.
I'm on my morning walk. I just want you all to know you're always part of my morning meditations. So I'm at the Rose Garden in North Portland. But yeah, I think a lot about Martin Luther King Jr. and how much anger and moral indignation led to justice movements. I think about our Black Panthers. So I did drop in the chat a book I read that was super helpful called Love and Rage by Lama Rod Owens. So it comes from like a Buddhist practice.
Thank you.
But it was really helpful for me to, especially in the conversations we've been having here, where we're really practicing patience with ourselves.
Yeah.
I was like, that anger actually comes from love. It's because I love things so much. I love our children so much. So my anger comes from like, oh, we got work to do. We got to fight, right?
Right. And if I may, Aviva, add to it, there's a beautiful quote, and I brought this to all the protests that I could when I went, was Martin Luther King Jr. said, darkness cannot dispel darkness, only light can do that. Hatred cannot dispel hatred, only love can do that. And he also famously had said, I'm choosing love. I've found hatred too hard to bear. So yes, it's moral. We can have moral indignation, and I think maybe we could be using the word moral indignation in two ways. One, we can say, I am morally outraged at what you're doing, which is doing the anger in the right way. And then there's, fuck you and all your horse and all the, like that's a different moral indignation. And I don't think that's the one we're talking about. Okay. Thank you. Bob, you have your hand up. Go ahead, Bob.
I was just exposed to a word that I questioned. That fight has come into the concept a lot lately. And I'm wondering whether fight ought to be replaced by working together.
I'm not worrying about that. I think that's right. We should be working together, not fighting. That's the only way that we're going. Let me give a quote that I think, a little story that will bring us towards that. Thank you, Bob. There's this story, and I've told this number of times, where this guru was walking with disciples trailing behind, and the guru said, and they passed two people who were shouting at each other. And the guru says to the disciples after they pass, if they were so physically close to each other, why were they shouting? And the disciples say, we don't know, but we're here in the storyline to keep it moving, so just tell us the answer. And the guru said, they're shouting to make up in volume for the distance of their hearts. And that if people are close by heart to heart, then they don't need to shout. And if I do it right, and it doesn't always happen, if I do it right and my child is being wrong in my mind, if I can get myself, before I do it wrong, to get my heart in the right place, well, then my child can yell at me and I can have my heart in the right place and I can wait it out and be compassionate before I respond, which I think is getting to what you were saying, Bob, is to have the dialogue, not to have the fight, because the fight, nobody wins. Nobody wins a fight. The same way nobody wins a debate. All you do is you convince the other people around you, but you don't convince the other person.
There's another comment in the chat that it says fight as deconstructing and reintegrating, and I'm not sure what like, Jess, can you say more about what you mean by that?
I just was kind of commenting on what folks were saying about, you know, the word fight not always having the best context or being sort of a loaded word. And I think there's definitely a time for a you know, a worthy cause or a worthy fight or a worthy struggle.
Yeah.
But maybe if we're looking at it more as a way of deconstructing like the problems underneath the thing that makes us impassioned and that we want to fight for, if we can look at it a way of deconstructing those things that we feel our morality rise up toward,
right,
and then, you know, reintegrating that so that we are on the same side, that we're at least with each other.
I like
we
that.
can't always agree that we're still integrating as a whole, was kind of my thought, my idea about that.
When we disagree with someone is to honor that and to not go at them, not trying to convince them. But if we go with, again, the questions over the statements, we go with an open heart and an open mind, and we can see what's in there. Okay, I'm going to move us a little bit along. I had a few other things I wanted to review from last week and seeing. Last week I put people in small groups to share what I like about you, and for some people that was probably an uncomfortable move that I put you in a small group to share openly, and you didn't get much of a choice in that matter, and I would like to apologize for that. Especially if you were new to this service. If you came back after that and that was your first time here, thank you very much. And if you didn't come back, I can't apologize to you. So I'm sorry about that. I want us to look at... Oh! Hold on. So I want us to look at this quote, and it goes like this. Here's the short version of it. The short version says, Tamakatri Roy. You do not need to remember how to say that. It's a goofy phrase I made up. Tamakatri Roy. And that stands for, the meaning of communication is in the response elicited regardless of intention. The meaning of communication
okay,
is in the response elicited regardless of intention. Now, that's rough.
It's what they hear, not what you meant.
It's what they hear, not what you meant. I meant to put everyone in small groups from a very loving place. I meant yet last week to do the quote about moral indignation and to help people understand something, but I pissed some people off. Are they wrong for misunderstanding me?
No, you're not.
I'd like to think so, but I don't. But I don't think that's true. The meaning of communication is the response elicited regardless of intention. And I'll tell you a story. When Annie was in 3rd grade, she's in 7th now. She was at a bus stop with the kids. They went up. There was a school a mile away where they had to take the bus to. And there was a dad who was avoiding me. His dad was just avoiding me. And I said to him, I said, dude, it seems like you're avoiding me. Is like, am I wrong? And he said, yeah, I am avoiding you. I'm like, oh, would you tell me what I did wrong? He said, no, if you don't know what you did, that's on you. It's like, holy shit. What the And I searched through my brain, and I do not remember taking a shit on his car. That was someone else. I didn't know what I had done. I had no idea. And so it's awkward as every day we're at the same bus stop with our kids and he's avoiding me, and like It's ugh. And finally, one day, I'm walking back to the house. The kids have been dropped off. I'm on the phone with my sister, and he comes over to me and says, "I'm ready to tell you what you did." I'm like, okay. And my sister got to hear the whole thing because I didn't hang up the phone because I just had moved the headset down. So I have a witness that this happened. And he says to me, when the kids were in kindergarten, and I think, oh shit, I must have done something really bad because this is 3 years later. So when the kids were in kindergarten, we were in the playground, like outside the school, waiting for the kids to pick them up. And I said to you, "Hey, Brian, it's good to see you." And you said, "Yeah, I hear that a lot. Apparently, I'm good to be seen." Now,
No.
I can have 49 people who are on the screen all agree with me that he's insane.
Oh.
And I said to him, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry." I didn't say, "What? Like, get a fucking sense of humor, dude." I didn't say that. Because the meaning of communication is in the response elicited regardless of intention. I said, "Oh my gosh, I am so sorry. I am so sorry I said that." I didn't explain myself to... Look, I'm only going to tell you the moments where I do this shit right. Right? I'm not telling you this one because I always do this right. I don't. But the meaning of communication is how he took it, not in what I said. This is a good place for a moment of quiet. Because this is awkward. Because that means we are all responsible not for what we say, but for what they hear. Oh no, this is not going to be another one where everyone's going to write me angry emails afterwards, is it? No, it is. Okay, I'm going to brace myself.
Amy has her hand up.
Hold on one second, Amy. It's uncomfortable. I agree it's uncomfortable. I would wish this were not the case. I would wish that the meaning of communication were somewhere in between the two. I'd take a compromise position, surely. But I don't think that's true. And if I've offended you by what I've just said, I think that proves my point. The meaning of communication is in how you take my words, not in what I say. And the question then is, how do we ever know? And the answer is, if it's an important thing, you can say this to the other person. I'm not exactly sure if I was fully communicating myself well. Can you tell me what you heard? That's going to make conversations a lot longer and clunkier, but it could also save the relationship.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Rita.
Well, just it reminded me, years ago, I took a course called Parent Effectiveness Training. And one of the major things was active listening.
What? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
That
was a joke. It was a joke. I'm sorry. That was horrible. That was a horrible joke.
Yes, we need to talk about it. Was active listening, which actually was where you, when somebody says something, you say back, now I heard such and such.
Yeah.
Is that what you were saying? Or something like that.
Yeah,
Anyway.
sometimes it's called looping, where you loop back what the person said. And often, and it's amazing, when you do that, when you tell somebody what you heard, often they say, "No, that's not what I said."
Yeah.
And it's uncomfortable how often that happens.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Rita.
But it is
And
the
I
way
saw...
to-
Go ahead, keep going. Now,
Well,
look
just-
at me
but it's
interrupting
the way
you,
to find
talking
out-
about blah, 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 blah. Sorry, we're talking about communication, and I'm talking right over you, Rita.
We could do a duet if it weren't Zoom.
Yeah.
But just that it is a way to find out what the real intention is.
Yes, very
That's
important
all.
to do. And Anne, you had your hand up, and I think I lost cousin Amy. Go ahead, Anne.
This isn't always possible, but one of the kind of primary rules of writing is to know your audience. Excellent. So in this, you can't always know that. So you can't know what their reaction is going to be, but sometimes you do have to be more circumspect in what you say until you know what their reaction is likely to be.
Wonderful. I know I've forgotten to say hello to some people by name when they're on the screen. And the meaning of my communication was they felt unheard. And thank God the people have told me. Cousin Amy was trying to say something, and then I lost her on the screen, and I went to someone else. And if she was insulted by that, that's what I communicated to her. It wasn't necessarily my intention, but it's... Oh, now Cousin Amy got brought on the screen. There you are. Fantastic. Yes, my friend. What do you got?
You're muted.
Amy, you're on mute, though. It's not working.
Press and hold down your space bar, Amy.
There you go.
Go
Is
ahead.
that any better?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, because my screen got all bluey. I was going to say, and it was already said, it was the active listening. Before that, it's think before you speak. So that is active listening. So you think before you speak, and then you ask for confirmation afterward if they've heard what you said and how you meant it.
Yeah, it's done in therapy all the time. It's important to do. Jeffrey Horner has a comment and then has announcements to read for us. Go ahead, Jeff.
There's also a thing where I don't exactly know what it's called, where people are too busy trying to think of how they're going to respond to you, and they don't always hear what you're saying.
And sometimes we do that too, where I'm so busy waiting to say what I'm going to say that I don't listen to what you say. Yeah, okay, good. Jeff, you have some announcements to read for us? Here come the announcements.
I do.
Horrible announcement song. Here it comes.
Saturday service announcement.
That's pretty horrible.
God, that's awful.
This is hilarious.
All right, there you are, Jeff. Wait. I'm trying to find you again. There you are. Go ahead, Jeff.
Hello, I am today's Saturday service announcer for this Saturday, September 25th, 2021.
Woo!
Let's hear and wait for applause.
Woohoo!
Thank you. In the chat is a link to the ROTB Saturday Attendees forum. You can send a message to RB there, find out how to put someone on RB's POO POO list, and more.
Oh, I
Please
will
click
talk
the link
about
and
that in a
find out
second. Sorry.
fill out the form. Clubhouse. If you aren't yet a member, why not join? The ROTB Community Clubhouse is a private place to be in touch and share with other ROTBers. And there'll be t-shirts soon. Office hours. The Zoom crew hangs out with Rabbi Brian at the same location on Tuesdays. Join us here on Tuesday. Bring a question or a sense of humor or both. The same link, 11 a.m. Pacific time. Shekinah group. If you'd like to join the ROTB subset to enjoy chatting about God, post in the chat and Rita will find you there. This group is wholly fun. ROTB's friend James is in prison and is always looking for pen pals. He's doing slightly better than he was, even though he recently lost some privileges. Find his address in the chat and send him a postcard or a letter. It is an act of love. Meditation. Do you have too much to do? Then certainly you have some time for more nothing. Join RB for a 20-minute sit every weekday streaming at 2 p.m. Pacific time. The next hour. Stick around after this hour for small groups. We have Deep Dive with Alan Kipp. Hi, Alan Kipp. For people who want to take a subject and burn a hole in it. Donuts with Maria and Joe. Hi, Maria and Joe. For people who want to talk about topics brought up today in Atmosphere of Donuts. And the Poetry Room. If you have a poem you'd like to share or listen in, meet there in the Poetry Room. And now back to you, Rabbi Brian.
Thank you. Let's hear it for Jeff. Thank you, Jeff, for reading the announcement so beautifully. So I mentioned it got mentioned on there, and I had not said it previously. The POO POO list. Now that is this is how this one works. Is if there happens to be someone who you're really kind of frosted at, and you don't know what to do with your anger, put their name in the POO POO list and know that they're on my POO POO list. They don't ever have to know what they did, but this is a way of taking your frustrations, and you can you have that little secret knowledge that you put they're on Rabbi Brian's POO POO list. Please, first names only on the POO POO list for legal reasons. Or actually, it just doesn't feel right if you give me first and last names. So just first names, please, on the POO POO list. 40-minute review. Let's play this game. Hey. Take a moment. Think about what we've talked about at this Saturday service. If you could write down something that you learned, a piece of wisdom that you might share with someone, they say, oh, what happened at the crazy Rabbi Brian's service? And you say, well, he's not crazy, he just appears that way. And what I learned was, and what is it? What is one thing that you learned? I'll take a few responses from people. What's something that you learned? What's something you got out of, yeah, go for it, Lee, give us a sentence or two.
So the quote that you used, the meaning of communication is the response elicited regardless of intention.
Yeah.
That doesn't work in my world, RB.
Okay, so how is this? What is something you learned, not something you didn't learn? Because there's lots I didn't learn.
I did learn.
You did learn.
I did learn
Help me.
that this may not pertain to everybody
Okay.
you deal with.
Okay, that's fair. Fantastic. Give me something else that we learned. So this is in what is the thing they put at the bottom of coupons, and they say like not all retailers are participating in this.
A disclaimer.
Yeah, so there's got to be some kind of disclaimer here that this might not work for you. That's fantastic.
That's right. Absolutely.
Give me something else. What's something else that we're taking with us from today?
I don't pray to change God.
Yeah. Not to pray to change God. Lovely. What's something else that we took from today?
Like there's no time in which being righteously indignant is right.
I love that. One other? Do we got?
The POO POO list.
What'd you learn about the POO POO list?
That it exists.
It does exist. It does exist. I'm not sure if you're going to share that with other people, but you can. What's something else that you can share with other people that we got? I'm going to add this one in. It's okay to be angry. You just got to do it right.
Yeah.
Well, and another one is what a religious life is.
Yeah.
The elements of a religious life.
I mean, you can always spout out to someone the 5 qualities of a spiritualigious life, which were, what was that one?
Transformation.
It's not about you.
Not about me. Transformation. What was this one here?
Out. Hierarchy
of values. What was this one?
Growth.
And then this one.
Transformation.
The last one here, this infinite loop. What does that one mean?
Transcendence.
That's transcendence, that we're all connected, that there's some sense of unity. Fantastic. Thank you guys for participating in all of that. I do have a God drop for us today. God drop is where I give a little theological quote I'm kind of double dipping because I inadvertently added in the Kierkegaard one, but here's your second God drop of the day. To the question, do you believe in God? I don't care about your answer. But to the answer, how kind were you to the last 5 people with whom you interacted?
Yeah.
That I care.
Yeah.
To the question, do you believe in God? I do not care about your answer. But to the answer, were you kind to the last 5 people with whom you interacted? I deeply care. I wrote that. I'm kind of proud. Thank you very much.
Be proud.
I'll take I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with applause in a religious service.
Yeah.
No.
Thank you.
I like
Poo-poo
Give
list.
yourself a raffle ticket.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, speaking of gifts. Today is it is the last Saturday of the month, which I decided is Intergenerational Awards Saturday. So anyone who is here with a person who is their child or parent get a prize. So if you would put your name in the chat, you and that person, yes, Annie, but you know where all the prizes are, so it's not really. But Jess and Oren, and I see another one there, fantastic, and Finn and Gord, you guys win, and Rosa and Frank, winners all around. And here's the prize, and so I just put your name in the chat, and I'll make sure to email it. Is you're going to get, oopsie, you can't see it.
It's not the names of all of you.
You're going to get in the mail 2 of these. These are fantastic little wooden coins.
Ooh.
And on the coins, it has the word paradoxicality on it. You see that there?
Oh,
and so on the one side of the coin, it says paradoxicality. Then it has religion outside the box because branding's important. It says, for my sake, the world was created. And on the other side of the coin, it says, I am but dust and ashes. Because and this is also an idea from Jung, is Jung said that paradox is the best way for us to understand a spiritualigious life. That something can be true and untrue at the same time, that something and its opposite can both be true. And this is an idea from Rabbi Simcha, oh wait a moment. Simcha Pushka of Pasikta. I think he lived in Pasikta and his name was Simcha Bunam, which means smiling face. But he was a rabbi of days, and he said that we should always keep these 2 thoughts in our heads at all times. I am but dust and ashes. I'm nothing and I'm not important in the world. And for my sake the world was created. Both of these are true at all times. And he suggested that we keep in our pocket 2 pieces of paper, one with each of these phrases. The idea to put them on wooden nickels, that was my idea.
They on Etsy?
Not yet, Emily.
I think it should be.
They're going to be on Etsy by next week. I just hadn't gotten the committee. Oh, they said they're working on it. They're working on it. Those will be on Etsy very, very soon. So congratulations to anyone who's in the Intergenerational Club for that. And then I'm going to give us some homework. And this one, we're going to see how well this goes for next week. The homework is this. I heard from a teacher of mine, a man named Dave Ellis. And he said this phrase, and it was hard for me to get my head around. He said, if you look at it correctly, you can see within every complaint a commitment. I'm going to say that again so you understand the words, and then I'm going to unpack it. He said, if you do it correctly, you can see within every complaint a commitment. So when Jane tells me,
That's his wife.
honey, yeah, Jane is my bride. When Jane tells me, And she might not always have the most pleasant tone, but that's in the meaning of the communication. That's just the way I'm hearing it. It's not what she's saying. She says, honey, you have to wash the backside of the pans also. I don't really know why, folks. I have no idea, because in my mind, the backside of the pan is being hit by fire and it's getting heated up. And I don't ever have to eat off of it, so I don't care if it's greasy or dirty. But she says to me, Brian, I told you already, you need to clean the backside of the pans. That would sound like a complaint. But if I hear it correctly, I can hear the commitment underneath, which might be, I want us to have a nice home. Oh, also, this is a little side note to it. I don't smell bad smells very well, and she smells them better, so there's also a possibility that there might be some rancid smell coming off of it. But any which way, the commitment that she has to our life in our home, if I can hear her complaint as a commitment, boy, does the day go better. So here's going to be your homework. And again, I have the great fortune of being able to conspire with the universe. And I talked with the universe, and they said definitely within the next week, someone is going to complain at you. When that happens, you just go, gosh darn it, Rabbi, thank you so much for this extra little lesson. Thank you for giving the universe, thank you for giving me the heads up the universe is going to do this. You're going to be complained about this week. Someone is going to complain to you. And I'm going to ask you, instead of going with your normal reaction, to go with your normal reaction and consider, what is the commitment? What might be the commitment? And it might be hard to find, but see if you can find the commitment within their complaint, and see if, when you find the commitment, what it does to your feelings about the complaint. Everyone understand the homework? That's a goofy question to have asked, because how do I know if you understood it? So instead, I'm going to say something like, hey, see, now I'm going to have to call on, I'll ask for a volunteer. Is there somebody here who can spit back what it is that the homework assignment is? Anyone in particular, Robin? Thank you. Go ahead, Robin.
I knew you were going to call on me.
I saw your hand moving up. Go ahead. What is our homework?
When someone complains about you or to you, to, instead of just jumping into your normal defensive state, to hear the commitment behind their complaint.
Perfect. And it might not be that day that you hear the commitment behind it. It might take you a little while, because we're still new at this game. So it might be a little while later, but that's our homework. And we will check in again next week. Folks, it is coming up on the time where I move the hosting privileges over to Alex. Uh-oh. Please hold. There you go. Alex is becoming the host, and she's going to be able to move you into deep dive, into donuts. The room should already be set up, and you should be able to move yourself into those rooms. I thank all of you for attending. Please bring some friends, bring a mom, bring a son, a daughter, a parent, and we'll see you again next week. Let's wave goodbye to everybody, especially wave goodbye to all the people who are out there on Facebook land. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Peace and love.
Goodbye.
Out.